Results continue to come in this evening. Darcy has made her way into our studio. She's sitting down with our political insiders right now to look at the races so far tonight. Darcy?
JR, thank you so much. I can't think of two people who know more about South Carolina politics than the two of you. So thank you so much for spending your evening with us.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, so Dave, we were talking in the newsroom a little bit earlier, Mr. Felder. You weren't privy to this conversation, but I know you're going to be able to jump in. The numbers, when we talk about how different the State House can look coming up are astounding.
Yeah, we tell people when we do the Insiders, we talk to folks, you at home understand that we are looking at this from the standpoint there are 124 members of the South Carolina House. Mm-hmm. Being that that's the case, there are 41 contested races on the books tonight. That is going to be a significant change. You're looking right now at 31 of those are folks with opposition. So incumbents that are facing opposition, 1 out of 4 members in the South Carolina House is facing primary opposition. Mm-hmm. That is a big tell statement. And you've got some key races right now in Spartanburg and Anderson that folks are looking at right now going, we may actually lose these seats. And then you've got 7 open seats, 6 Republicans and 1 Democrat, as well as some of those combined seats, because when we did redistricting a while back, you'll recall, you had seats like Wendy Brawley and Jermaine Johnson. That seat was combined. Caesar McKnight and Roger Kirby was also combined. And Sandy McGarry lost her seat altogether. That seat got dissolved and moved to the PD. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of things that are going to be changing, and that's going to be a changing face of the South Carolina House of Representatives, because you're going to have at least, the guesstimate right now is 20% of those members, if not 25, are going to be brand new to the State House.
Well, you talk about that kind of change. What does that mean to the average person watching us tonight?
Right now, they're confused.
Yeah.
They're really confused. In addition to that, you're going to have a new speaker in the House.
Exactly.
So it's kind of confusing for the general public out there who does not follow this on a day-to-day basis as we do. So what to look at next year in the General Assembly, it's going to be all new faces there. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be wandering around where to go and what to do and all that. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people there who won't know where the restrooms are.
This is very, very true. Yeah. And there are a lot of folks who are already trying to coalesce themselves into some new groups. Yeah. To figure out how they're going to play the game of politics inside the State House, especially with Merle Smith as the new speaker. Yep. You've got Davy Hyde, who's going to be the new head of the Republican majority. Mm-hmm. He looks like he's going to be able to pull out his win in Pickens County, but there are going to be some folks who are not going to be there next year. It is expected that Representative Rita Allison in Spartanburg will end up not going to be winning. Right. Brian White, who used to be the House Ways and Means chair in Anderson County, he's most likely not going to be returning. There's several others, and it is going to be a very interesting time to see how the Republican primary vote changes the face of politics in South Carolina at the state level.
That was my next question, Mr. Felder. What does this change mean for voters in South Carolina? Does it mean that people are tired of the old, you know? And I say that knowing that if Governor McMaster wins in November and completes his term, he will be the longest serving governor in the state of South Carolina. Are people looking for new faces, or are they just talking about looking for new? They are
looking for new faces. Yeah. They look at Henry McMaster. Well, he's been there a long time. Well, maybe he can't run again, maybe. But new faces are arriving, and they're going to be looking at those new faces and expecting different things from the State House. So Henry may be really pushed with this new breed coming in, this new class of legislators coming in this time to do some things that he may not want to do.
But can you really get change on the state level of those big state elected offices like governor and like Mark Hammond, who has held that seat as Secretary of State for 20 years now? 20 plus if he wins in November.
It's going to be
Is there a real change there?
Well, the real change, because we are a legislatively driven state, Darcy, and that's the thing to keep in mind. A governor does not have the power that the president has, but he does have the power of the bully pulpit. So guidance and direction that he takes, ways that he turns around and uses that power to get things moving is going to be an important step about what Henry McMaster does, if he does win, does in that last 4 years that he'll be serving our state. And that's going to be a real test of wills between the House, the Senate, and the governor's office. That's a trifecta that oftentimes does not balance itself out.
What about voter turnout? Why is it so low today?
I am just disappointed. I am disappointed with the turnout. Many reasons. It's not a presidential election year. And the other thing is people really not knowing who to vote for, who their candidates are. And I've been pushing and pushing that we need to do a better job of coming up with sample ballots so we know who we are voting for in our neighborhood. Somehow we got to get back to what we used to do. The newspapers just give you great coverage, and even the TV and the radio station would be talking about the candidates. But now they just let the candidates, those who want to be out there running, do the talking, and they don't give any information and education about how the process. So we need to do more about process, about informing voters who are running.
It almost seems like, Dave, the person who can pay for their name to be out there is the person who has their name out there.
It really does boil down to that, and we saw that in the race with Jamie Harrison and Lindsey Graham. I mean, we spent $250 million was spent in that race alone. And Darcy, I think when you begin to look at it, it's going to be one of two things. Either the person who spends more money or the person who spends more money on shoe leather because they've actually gotten out there and knocked on the doors. Because so much of what you see in a state house race like this, keep in mind, we're talking 13%, maybe 15% voter turnout. Okay, out of 3.3 million registered voters in South Carolina, you're talking roughly 400,000 people that are showing up. Well, you take a state house race. A state house race, you may only need 1,500 votes to win.
That is true.
And if you do the math on that during the campaign season, you're knocking on 100 doors a day, and you just keep doing that, and you keep working the shoe leather, you can turn around and you can unseat an incumbent. It is not that hard to do.
It'll be interesting to see how the numbers turn out at the end of the night. If they're panning out like they are now, it sounds like 85% of the people who are registered to vote in South Carolina did not.
I am looking at a race we hadn't talked about. It's a local race.
Yes, sir.
Chris Hart in Pride. You know, Chris beat Joe Brown years ago by knocking on doors. You know, Joe was surprised.
Right. I remember that race.
Remember that
Yes.
race. Now Pride is out there knocking on doors, and look, I don't know what's going to happen in that race.
All right.
Same thing. You have the same thing in Lexington County, where you've got Micah Caskey and Melanie Scholl.
Right.
It's going to be a neck and neck race because it was who has knocked on more doors and done those sorts of things that need to be done. And that's the nature of South Carolina politics, folks, and you understand that.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to give you a chance to get some more sweet tea.
That always sounds like a good idea in South Carolina politics.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back on air online at 10 o'clock.